Good evening. Thank you for joining us for the meeting of the Hendersonville Board of Mayor and Aldermen on November 27, 2018. We're going to begin our meeting, as we typically do, and that's with a prayer and a pledge. And please stand if you would, and join me for both of those. And then we'll follow along with our agenda. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together here, and thank you for the opportunities you provide for us living in this city. Thank you for the opportunities you provide for us living in this state and living in this country. Thank you for the people who protect us here and far, far away. And thank you for the wonderful, wonderful assets we have here and all the things you've given us. And as I said, the wonderful opportunities we have today and every day. And somehow, please help us to show your wisdom tonight and every night as we leave here. Please especially look out after Mary Jane Campbell, Virginia Waters, the Forrest Wise family, and the Alcoa family, as they are feeling a little bit greater in need than the rest of us are tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. I will entertain a motion to accept our agenda.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Alderman Sprouse.
Would it be appropriate, Mayor, for us to add a report from the General Committee for our meeting last night and then ask the board to affirm the recommendations of that committee?
So we're going to, that would be confirming the appointments that are made by the General Committee?
The recommendation for appointments, yes, sir. I think everybody was there except for Mr. Woodcock, and we can fill him in.
I guess.
Is that when we normally do it?
We can. What does the ordinance say?
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
Anything that addresses that.
Okay. So we have a motion. We have a motion and a second to add a report from the General Committee. Should we make that B under reports? And do you intend to ask the board for action?
I think we need to affirm that, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to add that item to the agenda. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of adding that to the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. All those in favor of accepting the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. We have an agenda. Next, we have approval of minutes from a regular meeting, which was on November 11th, 2018. We have a motion and a second. We have a motion accepted and a second to accept our minutes of our regular meeting on November 11th, 2018. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Anything we need to deal with on that? No. Okay. Next, we have citizens' comments. This is citizens' comments, a little bit different than our public hearings. This is, during citizens' comments, we have some rules that don't necessarily apply to our public hearing, and the most noticeable one is that we have a 5-minute limit per individual, and that's not transferable to other speakers. Dr. Lois Jordan, Master's Way.
Thank you so very much. Mayor Clariday, Alderman, and to the to be sworn in Alderman, I am Dr. Lois Jordan. I am a former member of the City Council in Nashville, Tennessee. And according to the Nashville Tennessean of 1971, I am the first female of any race to be elected on the local level. Many of you know who I am, and you know of my concerns for this wonderful community. I moved here in 1999, and at one point, I referred to Hendersonville as God's country because of its peaceful atmosphere, and the political atmosphere was less than a dogfight. I taught government for approximately 20 to 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, it is apparent that it was your goal to win and to serve the people of this great city. But let me remind you of how the process one uses to win is of great importance. It tells a lot about who you are. You now must work with one another for the benefit of this great city. One of you may have a role of higher power that they have and that really don't know what to do after burning a bridge. Now let me quote from Harvey Mackay. He said, and I quote, "He who burns his bridge, you better be a good swimmer." May I conclude by saying I wish all of you a successful tenure, and all of you must work harmoniously for the good of this great city. You have a great responsibility. Leave all the ugly stuff behind, and let's join together to make Hendersonville the great city that it is. And you'll be proud. Your children will be proud, and everyone else will be proud. I am proud of you because you're there, but you have a responsibility to all of these people and to all the people of Hendersonville. God bless you, and I wish you well.
Dr. Jordan, thank you. Brenda Payne, Hunt Club Boulevard.
Good evening, Mayor and the Board of Aldermen. It's my great pleasure to be here on really a happy occasion. I have a couple of reasons for wanting to address you tonight. The first one is something that you probably weren't expecting, but that is I want to tell you what an incredible event the tree lighting ceremony was this past weekend. And I want to thank each and every one of you for the part you played in that, because to my knowledge, it was the most exciting and best tree lighting ceremony this city has ever seen. And I know that there were lots and lots of people involved in the process. It takes leadership from the mayor and the aldermen all the way down. I want to thank Andy Gilley and the Parks Department for all that they did to make this such a great success. There were numbers of people. The Holiday Fest folks were greatly involved in it. Actors Point Theater. I know that Joy Gregory and a couple of other folks helped with the decorations. I know that the Dwayne Allen and Nora Lee were very well invested in this as well. So it was just such a fun event. The evening was wonderful. It was such a great weather and all of those things. So I wanted to congratulate you on that. The fact of the matter is that is a community sort of development event that is what makes the fabric of this city what it is. And so you are to be commended for that. The second thing I want to do is obviously just congratulate all of you as aldermen for all the work that you've done. For those of you who are leaving this board, I want to thank you for the incredible sacrifice that you've made over the many years that you've been here. For those of you who have been reelected, I want to congratulate you for the tireless work that you did to make that happen. And thirdly, for those folks who are coming on the board as newly elected aldermen, several friends of mine, and I am so proud of them for the opportunity that they now have to help move our city along with you all to be the best that it can be. So I want to thank and congratulate all of you. So thank you very much.
Brenda, thank you for that. Next, I have a couple proclamations to hand out. Alderman Frisbee. Whereas Paul Frisbee was appointed Alderman in 2008 to represent the citizens of Ward 3, and whereas Paul Frisbee served as a member of the Finance Committee, I, Jamie Clary, the mayor of the city of Hendersonville, by the authority vested in me as mayor and on behalf of the entire board of mayor and aldermen, do formally proclaim our gratitude and appreciation and urge all citizens of Hendersonville to join with us in honoring Paul Frisbee for his dedicated service to all residents of the community. I doubt Paul or anybody up here knew what you were getting into before you became alderman, and I appreciate very much what you've done. Thank you so much. Did I say anything? Okay. Thank you, Paul. Vice Mayor Frost. Yeah, you might as well stay down here, Paul. Okay. We've got something else coming up in just a second. Whereas Hamilton Frost was elected alderman in 1994 to represent the citizens of Ward 5. And if some of y'all don't quite understand when that was, is just 8 years before that did we have our first alderman. We used to have a totally different form of city government, and there's still a lot of folks in 1994 that had a hard time with that change, and Ham stepped up and decided that he wanted to be part of that. Hamilton Frost has served as vice mayor twice, as a member of the Finance Committee, the General Committee, the Public Safety Committee, and the Capital Projects Committee, as well as the Management Review Committee, the Process Review Committee, the Town Center Redevelopment Committee, and the Library Committee, and as liaison to beautiful Hendersonville, basically everything we have, the Regional Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Board of Parks and Recreation, and was elected 2017 Municipal Legislator of the Year by the Sumner County Council of Governments. I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, by the authority vested in me as mayor, and on behalf of the entire board, and certainly the folks of Ward 5, do formally proclaim our gratitude and appreciation and urge all citizens of Hendersonville to join with us in honoring Hamilton Frost for his dedicated service and all the residents of the community. And I can say a little bit more because he is my alderman. Thank you very much, Ham. Thank you. You want to say something now, or you want to wait? Okay.
Thank you so much. That just made it a little bit more difficult, but thank you. What I do want to say is my first address is to the board. I love each and every one of you. I'll let it stand there. To the people of Ward 5, I appreciate the confidence you had in me over the past 24 years. I'm sorry I'm emotional, but it's been something that I've loved for the past 24 years. Ward 5 has been good to me. I've enjoyed serving. This city is magnificent. That's all you can say. A very special gratitude goes to my wife, who has put up with a lot that I've missed over 24 years. She's been patient. She's chastised me a few times for my votes. She asked me one time, what in the world were you thinking of? But she's always been there. And I appreciate everything she's done. I appreciate, most of all, the opportunity the good Lord gave me to serve. It means a lot to me. And I don't want it to be forgotten. The only reason this city works is because of the employees. We have the best employees. They make the wheel turn. So don't forget that in your deliberations. We have great folks, and they step out there when they need to. Kay, thank you for all the years you've kept me straight. You've told me when I don't need to do something. John, thank you for keeping us legal. I'm a Vandy fan. I don't look good in orange, okay? Thank you so much for all of your service to this city. To all the new aldermen coming in. Please have fun. Enjoy it. When you quit having fun, leave. We got a great bunch of people, great bunch of folks that care about this city. And no matter what happens through all the arguments and discussions and the dissension, we're going to be okay. The city will be fine. Make no doubt about it. Thank you to all of you. I love each and every one of you. And if I don't see you before Christmas, I wish all of you the very best. And Merry Christmas.
Next, we have Alderman Matt Stamper. Whereas Matt Stamper was elected Alderman 2010 to represent the citizens of Ward 6, and whereas Matt Stamper has served as Vice Mayor and a member of the Finance Committee, the Public Safety Committee, the Public Works Committee, and the Capital Projects Committee, as well as the Nonprofit Contributions Committee and the Urban Deer Herd Committee, and as liaison to the Beer Board and the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, which honestly are two of the hardest boards we have to serve on. Now, therefore, I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, by the authority vested in me as Mayor, and on behalf of the entire Board, Mayor and Alderman, and his children, do hereby formally proclaim our gratitude and appreciation and urge all citizens of Hendersonville to join us in honoring Matt Stamper for his dedicated service to the residents and community. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Urban Deer Herd Committee. I missed that night. And Lisa West said, I think I saw on Facebook Matt was interested in serving on that committee. That was my wife that wanted to serve on that committee. I debated whether to quote Shakespeare or not, but I'll go ahead and quote him. All the world's a stage, and the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. And tonight we've got some folks making their exits. And we've got some fine folks making their entrances. As I reflect back on my 8 years service here, I want to look back and forward. I thought about all the people when I came on in 2010 that were up on this board. A lot of faces have changed. Ward 1 was Gary Forsyth and Jack Long. We lost Jack while he was serving as vice mayor. And his wife came in and faithfully served Ward 1, and then she passed as well. And I didn't make a list of all the names, but so many people have been a part of this board, or before that, the City Commission. The city turns 50 years old next year. You may not have known that, but 2019 comes, you'll hear a lot about 50 years as a city. And the city is what continues on. Tonight is about the great opportunities we have to welcome new folks to serve in this important role, administering the business of the city. And it's not something that I know any of us take lightly. And it's been an absolute honor for me to have been able to represent Ward 6 for these last 8 years. This kid who grew up in Indian Lake Peninsula in the forest, representing the northern part of town, was an awesome experience. When Maggie and I moved back into town from Goodlettsville in 2008, I never dreamed in 2 years I'd run for office. Me and Arlene kind of campaigned together and got to be good friends. I've become good friends with so many of y'all, some newer folks, and then some folks that we've had our ups and downs over the years, but we've had our disagreements. But the thing that I love is we all have just a continual desire to make this city great and even better than it already is. This is a great city. There's not going to be a city council or board in America that doesn't have some squabbles. At times we cross the line, that's true. But what's driving that is the passion to make an already great city even better. And people have asked me, well, are you going to continue to be active and involved in the city? I said, well, absolutely. I just won't be representing Ward 6 any longer, but I care too much about the city to just go away. So maybe good news to some and not so good news to others. But this is really a bittersweet night. I've had a lot of emotions. Like Hamilton said, you know, this is tough to walk away from. It's such an honor to be on this board, and I tried not to take it for granted. And for those that are continuing on and those that are coming on board, just remember what a tremendous responsibility, even if you ran unopposed, the voters have placed on your shoulders to lead well. And so my encouragement as we look forward to the future, because tonight is really about the city of Hendersonville, not about any individual alderman. It's about the city, is to continue to do what you do. Think through issues, study issues. I've learned from so many of y'all. When I came up here, I was telling Johnny Garrett, I didn't even know what a box culvert was when I got up here. I've learned so much about what a city is all about, what you can and can't do as an alderman. And Dr. Jordan said it well. Others have said it tonight. We need to be focused on those that elected us to represent them. And so I have all the faith in the world in you guys. I love you guys. Like Hamilton said, I've come to think of you, a lot of y'all, as brothers, and it's tough, but I really appreciate the opportunity. My biggest critic and toughest constituent has kept the home fires burning so many nights, sometimes into the mornings, and I look forward to spending more time at home. And I just want to say thank you for this nice proclamation and really the opportunity to serve. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Next, we've got a proclamation from Alderman Sprouse, Campbell, and Brown.
I'm just going to talk for a minute. Yeah, we're not going to sing, that's for sure.
You got 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I'll make this short. Yes. Paul Frisbee, would you come on over, please? I have the honor of giving you a little gift from us as aldermen. It's been a pleasure serving with you, sir. A lot of you don't know this, but Paul served 4 years as our videographer in the back here, videotaping our meetings for us in the Planning Commission meetings. And this is for you, sir. And so he had a good knowledge of what was going on here on the board when he was seated next to me. And I want to say it was a pleasure serving with Paul, because in my 4 years at that seat, I've had 4 other aldermen seated next to me. So every year I had a different alderman that I was dealing with. So when you're trying to get some cohesiveness, it's nice to have someone who's there. And Paul had a very, I mean, not saying the other ones were rough, but it's just hard when you have so many people, so much turnover in that seat. And it was just a nice to have Paul join us up there. And he's done an excellent job in the short time that he was there. And I'm going to miss him. He's a fine family man and a great alderman and an asset to our city. And I look forward to things that he's going to do in the future for our city. Thank you, Paul. Would you like to say anything? Please do.
Well, I felt kind of remiss not saying anything earlier, but I'm really going to miss this group. I mean, it's been real hard. I've enjoyed working with this. You know, I will say that I feel very good about what I did when I was here. I don't regret one bit of what I've done. I've made every decision I made with as much education and forethought as I could, and I wouldn't change any of it now. I've tried looking back on it. But I just appreciate the love and care that everyone has given and the friendship that everyone has had with me, and I'm really going to miss that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
I'm here to talk about Dr. Alderman Matt Stamper. I'm glad Matt mentioned brothers, because I was going to talk about brothers. One thing he and I do not have in common is that he grew up with brothers, and I did not have any. But I look back at our relationship, and I can imagine what it's like to have one. Starting out, the little brother come along, upset a little bit of the balance of things, doesn't really know how to follow what's going on, but then you realize he is his own man, and he is a good one. And over time, I have learned to benefit from his counsel, from his experience, and his friendship. And I can call him a brother. I can say that because of his 8 years of service, our city is a better city. It is a better community. And the functions within this building and the employees who work outside this building have benefited from his work. I can say personally that I am a better alderman because of my experience of working with him. And I can say, because of our relationship and how it has developed, we even ended up teaching a Sunday school or a Wednesday night men's Bible study together. I can say I'm a better person because of his influence. And I do want to ask Matt to come up here for a second. He said he didn't have anything else to say. But we're giving them something here, and I'm going to say, your name is on this, but this is for Maggie.
All right.
You need to take this, and I'll let the other guys work it out with their wives. You need to take her out. We want to help you with that. All the nights you've shared with us, we want to make sure you share a night with her. If you need to come up with babysitters, I'm sure Mr. Skidmore and I may help. A few of us, we can do it. And if it could be an interesting swing, you know, maybe you do it on a second or fourth Tuesday night, and she spends the night with you, and y'all just leave the kids here. And we'll watch them. But I just wanted to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your influence. Thanks.
I actually had notes, and they're sitting on my desk. So, and I usually don't do well with notes anyway, so I hip shoot. I get the privilege of talking about Hamilton Frost, which will be hard. I've sat up there with him 12 years. Before that 12 years, he became a friend. Not only a friend, but a mentor. Somebody who I could call on without breaking the sunshine law, but to find out how to do things that I needed to do, or how to present something that I needed to present. I have not always made him proud, I will tell you that, but he's always been my friend. I think when he talked about friends a while ago, he meant everything he said to each one of you on this board. I can, when Ham's office was a little small office down on Harlan Avenue, I used to go over there and discuss politics with him before I became one of you all, to just try to learn the ropes a little bit. He's the one that actually spiked my interest to serve as an alderman. It's going to be hard looking over and seeing Jonathan, not in a bad way, Jonathan. But for a while, I might call you Ham accidentally, because Jamie knows that I talk behind Mr. Bolt quite a bit. I can tell you that I've been there 12 years. My hair color hadn't changed much. Ham's been up there 24 years. His hair color has changed a lot. I think a lot of that's maybe had to do with those 24 years. But friends. He's been a friend of this city every other Tuesday night. He's been a friend of this city. He's led well in the positions he's been in, and I think he'll continue to lead well as he relaxes a little bit on Tuesday nights. Jonathan, you got big shoes to fill, buddy. You really do. As well as the other two of you do too. All three of these gentlemen have served well with us. I appreciate them so much. Looking forward to a new era. But I want to give my friend a hug. I'll come to you. You got your grandbaby. I love you.
Steve, if you want to stay down there, please, you're up next. Could I have Steve Brown, Pat Campbell, Arlene Cunningham, Russ Edwards, Jonathan Hayes, Peg Petrelli, and Eddie Roberson right down here in front of the desk, and of course, Judge Lincoln. Should do it again?
Yeah, they need
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Hey, tears of happiness.
Judge?
Before I administer the oath, I want everyone in the city of Hendersonville to know that the city of Hendersonville did not color by hair and did not make it leave. It left before I came down here. And as I start this, the first time I swore any of the mayor and aldermen in, I started the oath with "I" in your name, and every one of you said "I" your name. So this time you need to say your name, okay? So if you'd raise your right hand, put your hand on the Bible. Is there anybody here that's not prepared to swear that would prefer to affirm? Okay. All right, then if you'd repeat after me. I, your name, do hereby swear that I have all the qualifications for the office of Alderman of the ward to which I was elected under the mayor-aldermanic government for the city of Hendersonville, Tennessee. And I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the state of Tennessee, the mayor-aldermanic charter and laws and duly enacted ordinances of the city of Hendersonville. And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of this office, so help me God. Congratulations.
Let me have that. I gotta get you to sign. That's right.
Congratulations, sir.
Hey, I need you to sign. Steve, hey, ask him to sign that and pass it down.
Sign your oath and pass it back.
Would you? Thank you.
See ya.
Yes, I was going to say, if you want to reach over that front counter, that way, it's over there, it's in a plastic bag. It has your name on it. All right.
Man, Mr. Frisbee, wouldn't it even?
Troy.
Too bad, space. You're gonna have some competition.
Jim Waters is fixing his chair.
I was going to wait until they proceeded and then swap it, but he took care of it. It's all right. I had forgot it. I had
Jeff. Next on our agenda is committee reports, and the first one is committee on committees. As chairman, I want to let you know that when we get a new board every 2 years, we have, for a very brief time, we have a committee on committees. And as chairman, one of the things I did is I looked at sort of what happened 2 years ago, what worked well, what didn't work well, as well as some comments that were made about 2-3 months ago, as far as some things that worked well, some things that didn't work well. And one of the comments that were made that was absolute correct was that if you are on a committee, you have the right to stay on that committee. And working with that in mind, as well as knowing that we were going to have a couple new folks, I started from that plan, was that let's talk to those people who have been on the committee and see if they want to stay on that committee. So I just handed out something to you a few minutes ago, and I want you to look at the very top, and it shows the seniority of returning aldermen. So what we did was we called those returning aldermen to see if they want to stay on the committee that they were on. And the second part shows you the committees that each person was on. So we start out with Alderman Sprouse, the most senior of the aldermen here, then Alderman Cunningham, followed by Alderman Skidmore, Woodcock, and Waters, followed by Alderman Campbell and Brown, Alderman Petrelli, and then Alderman Bolt. So we asked those folks who all were on a committee at the time if they want to continue serving on that committee. And if they said yes, they were designated that committee. You see in the next section what the responses were, and then further down how that played out. From there, contacted the three newest ones and asked them what their preferences were, not just the first two, but all four of them, knowing that at that point, if they just gave me two, they might not even get the first two. So I asked for the preferences in all four of them and went from there. And that's how you get the recommendation that came down that's below there. That was my recommendation as the chairman of the Committee on Committees, and we discussed that last night. There were no other motions made last night that passed the committee. The only motion that was made that passed the committee was that we pass this on to the board with no recommendation. And that's where we are now. So you see at the very bottom of that page what we have in front of us, and I'm going to move that we accept this slate for the committees that we have, and we'll go from there. So I'll make that motion. We have a motion and a second. Okay. Alderman Sprouse, did you want to speak?
I was just going to second the motion, or maybe if you didn't.
Okay. Do we have anybody wishing to speak? All those in favor of this list of slate of committee seats and the way they are listed here, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next we have, yes. So on Finance Committee, it's going to be Alderman Cunningham, Alderman Woodcock, and Alderman Waters. General Committee will be Alderman Sprouse, Alderman Bolt, Alderman Hayes. Public Safety, Alderman Brown, Alderman Petrelli, Alderman Edwards. Public Works, Alderman Skidmore, Alderman Campbell, Alderman Roberson. Next we have the General Committee report. Alderman Sprouse, Chairman Sprouse.
Thank you. The General Committee met last night, and we reviewed the requests and preferences of every alderman to be liaison to a board or commission of the city. This recommendation passed unanimously, and I'll read this to you. The recommendation is Ms. Petrelli to the Disability Board, Mr. Skidmore to the Regional Board of Zoning Appeals. I will be returning to the Industrial Development Board, Mr. Campbell to the Municipal Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Cunningham to the Arts Council, Mr. Edwards to the Beer Board, Mr. Bolt to the Board of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Brown to the Personnel Board, Mr. Hayes to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals, Mr. Robinson to the Golf Course Commission. And I'm going to make that as a motion, offer that as a motion. There will be one additional motion that we did make a recommendation, but we're going to have this later in the agenda. We did recommend the Planning Commission representative be Mr. Woodcock, and that's later in the agenda. When it's appropriate, I'll be happy to make that motion as well. But I move that these be affirmed as liaison appointments for the sitting board.
And I'll second that
A
motion.
motion is second. All those in favor of accepting the list of liaison appointments that have just been given to us here, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have the appointment of a Planning Commission member. Alderman Sprouse.
Mayor, I'd like to nominate Alderman Darrell Woodcock.
Second.
You have a nomination for Alderman Darrell Woodcock to the Planning Commission. I'm going to look down the desk over here and see if Darrell Woodcock says, at least looks at me and doesn't. We have one nomination at this point. All those in favor of appointing Alderman Darrell Woodcock as the Planning Commission member from the Board, Mayor, and Alderman, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have the election of Vice Mayor. I will entertain motions. I will entertain nominations. Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and new members of the board. Welcome to this board. You have a unique opportunity, as I did back in the 1980s, to serve our city, and it's going to be a remarkable run for you guys, and I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. And as far as the other members of the board, I look forward to our continued success in making Hendersonville a great place to live. And so in saying that, I would like to say a couple of things. Many years ago, and too many years to recall, that I choose not to recall, I was campaigning. I can't believe it. I can't remember whether it was for my mama, or myself, but I choose to think it was myself on this particular house. So this was back years ago, and I knocked on the door, and this nice woman and lady came to the door, and I introduced myself to them, and they introduced themselves to me, and it was hot. It was back, in the summertime, and it was really, really extremely warm. And they said, would you like to come in the house for a glass of water or something? And of course, you're not supposed to say no, we're fine. But I was hot, and I was a pretty young man back then, so I said sure. So I got in. They gave me a glass of water, and I started to talk to them, and really felt very comfortable in the house. Just nice. And when I left there, I was like, I forgot to ask them for a yard sign in their house. So I went back up on the door, and for a period of several years, when I represented that area, I always had a sign in their yard, and they were always a voice of reason and to listen. And now I've had the opportunity for this young lady to serve with, and she's every bit is the same person that I met all those years ago, and she's a fine lady. And I would like, and so board and the mayor, I'd like to place the nomination of a woman that not only I think is the better for the city and has done an outstanding job in her service to the city, but I would like to call her a friend, and that would be Arlene Cunningham.
We have a nomination for Arlene Cunningham for Vice Mayor. Any other nominations?
I move nomination closed and appoint Ms. Cunningham by acclamation.
We have a motion, a second, to close nominations. All in favor of closing nominations and electing Arlene Cunningham by acclamation, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Vice Mayor Cunningham, would you like to make a motion?
Move
to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. And a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. We are adjourned.